Hi again, everyone. Eddie Harold. Welcome to our pranayama channel. Today I want to talk to you about breathing deeply through your nostrils. Yogis have called this breath Dirga or Durga pranayama. In the West, we sometimes hear the phrase diaphragmatic breathing, using the diaphragm muscle that separates the chest cavity from the abdominal cavity as the foreground for the mental visualization of deep, rich, full breath. When we're speaking of Dirga pranayama or diaphragmatic breathing, we're talking about taking a rich, full inhale through the nostrils, sending fresh oxygen down into the body, into the bloodstream, and then having a skillful exhale, a long exhale through the nostrils, which allows exchange of carbon dioxide to leave the bloodstream and leave through the nostrils and prepare ourselves for our next inhale. Most of the students that I work with are a little bit stressed out, a little high edge, and have a tendency to have difficulty in relaxation. When we speak of the Dirga pranayama, it's almost as if when we're taking the breath in, we're visualizing filling a glass of water or filling a vase with water. And the reason why we want to do that is as the breath enters the nostrils and travels up into the sinuses and then down the trachea into the lungs, the diaphragm muscle, which separates the chest cavity from the abdominal cavity, closes down much like you'd close an umbrella. And when this diaphragm muscle drops down, it allows the lower lobes of our lungs, which are imbued with oxygen-rich blood in the parasympathetic response of our autonomic nervous system, and this sets the present moment in a relaxed energy. And then as the lungs fill and expand as the diaphragm pushes further down, then we reach the high edge energy, the sympathetic or the fight or flight high edge adrenal energy, which is located in the top sleeve of the lungs. So yogis were trying to relax into the present moment by filling the lower lobes of the lungs first, letting the abdomen swell, nurturing the abdominal organs, and then once they set that energy in the present moment of being relaxed and open, then they use the top sleeve of the lungs to find the dynamic energy to bring whatever the particular thought or desire was to right action. So when we're using the lower lobes of the lungs first, we'll relax. And as the lungs fill, energy rises and moves through the neuromusculoskeletal system. On our exhale, the diaphragm muscle lifts back up to a neutral position. And this is a muscle which separates the chest cavity from the abdominal cavity. And it's very thin, and it's made up of many, many layers of thin muscle sheaths. And as we begin to perfect the breathing into the lower lobes of the lungs and swelling the belly on the inhale, the diaphragm muscle begins to thicken and strengthen, much like when you go to a fitness center and do curls or some type of a resistance exercise. The forcing of the diaphragm down, the resistance of that as the diaphragm drops down, that muscle thickens. And when that muscle thickens, as the inhale evolves, it allows the chest cavity to expand out into all directions. So when we're inhaling, the diaphragm muscle drops down, the muscles in between the ribs, your intercostal muscles, contract. And when that takes place, your 12 ribs expand. And since the lungs themselves aren't really muscles, they're tissue, the stronger the respiratory system muscles of the inhale, which is the diaphragm and the intercostals, the more lifting can take place to the rib cage, the more air can be exchanged in the lung tissue. Inside the lung tissue, we have thousands of alveoli sacs, microscopic sacs, where the dance of energy is oxygen and carbon dioxide primarily, And these two gases right now are usually working against each other. And as this diaphragm muscle thickens, the intercostals thicken on our inhale, the rib cage has more room to expand, and we can circulate more of these gases through our bloodstream, through our nervous system, so we don't recycle toxins through the bloodstream, which lowers our energy in our body and lowers our ability to see things clearly in the mind, and the mind becomes distorted. So this three-part breath, or two-part breath, diaphragmatic breath, is fundamental to cleansing the body, detoxifying the blood, cleansing the internal organs, thickening the muscles of the respiratory system, clearing the brainwave activity. But it's also fundamental on letting the heart and lungs, the cardiovascular system, do less. So when we think about the diaphragmatic breath, I want you to think about swelling your belly first when you inhale and just let it expand out as far as it can go. Now, if you notice down in your belly, there's no ribs here. So you can really almost do like a reverse sit-up on your inhale. Let the belly swell out as far as it can go. And you'll feel your abdominal organs move off their attachments. And that feels really good to bring fresh energy down and aerate these organs. And then as the air rises up and the pressure builds above the diaphragm, then you'll see the chest cavity expand. And when this chest cavity expands, it can only expand so far due to the flexibility of your rib cage. So when we begin to breathe correctly, we allow these 12 ribs to become more flexible, and we reshape the chest cavity from the inside out rather than the outside in. Traditionally, when you go to a gym, you'll build muscles from the outside in, and heavy muscles outside the rib cage makes it more difficult for us to take a long, deep, full, relaxing, energizing breath. So yogis did that work from the inside out. They thickened the inside of the body, the deepest core of the body, with fresh oxygen, and sent that pressure out. And this reshapes the chest cage. Now this is important because the rib cage then becomes more flexible. And then each time we inhale and exhale, and you know we breathe approximately 20,000 times per day, this allows a really nice massage of energy to take place around the heart and all the work the heart muscle's doing, and also keeps the lungs fresh. And with the lungs being fresh, we can exchange more stale air, air that hasn't been exchanged in the alveoli sacs of the lungs, and we can bring in more clear air, which just gives us a clearer process at the cellular level of keeping the cells of the body young, creating longevity in the life of the cells. So when we're breathing through our nostrils, what's going to happen here is every time we inhale, the brain, the skull, everything contracts, and as we exhale, there's a release of pressure around the brain. And again, this massage around the cerebral fluid of the brain also takes place 20,000 times a day. So when we're breathing correctly, yogis knew that we could have a clear respiratory system, we could have a strong digestive fire, and that would lead to clearer choices in the brain. So when you're breathing from now on, I invite you to come back to your nasal breath when you feel yourself breathing shallow through your nostrils or shallow through your mouth. This nasal inhale is going to be great for you if you're suffering from any type of respiratory conditions, whether it be asthma or COPD, emphysema, any type of hypertension type disorders. This type of breathing is going to recalibrate the respiratory system and how the cardiovascular system operates. This will relax your brain and send a more relaxed response through your autonomic nervous system. And the autonomic nervous system is basically everything that takes place in the present moment that you're not aware of that keeps us alive. Now, the one autonomic response that we can control is our breathing. So bringing yourself to a nasal breath, creating good posture when you're breathing, breathing belly, ribs, chest, exhaling chest, ribs, belly. If this is new to you, when you're falling asleep at night, just place your hands on your belly and get used to letting the belly swell during the first half of your inhale up into your fingertips. Your body cells has memory. And when we were children, or if you have young children, watch how they breathe when they sleep. And you'll notice that everyone when we're young, before our ego develops, we're all diaphragmatic breathers. So it's in the memory of your cells. And we just need to turn on these breathing muscles in a more efficient way to keep you healthy and remove these upper respiratory conditions, which are closing off the body's sense organs to the right choices, to the part of the brain that's making the choices for you in the present moment. If you're athletic, this is the foundation of the next level of athletics for you. Breathing through your nostrils creates more heat in your body. And when we create heat in the body, that is the transformation or the improvement in how your body handles gases. The more pressure that you can put in your respiratory system without your heart rate spiking up, the slower your brainwave patterns will be and the more relaxed you'll be in that zone. So mouth breathing is very debilitating because it's a cooling breath. The breath comes in unfiltered, and it's great, it keeps you alive, but it only fills the top sleeve of the lungs. There's a lot of compression in your low back because the air never reaches the lower lobes of the lungs or the belly. So over a period of time, there's compression on the lower discs, and you have to work so much harder in your moving parts to create heat and get your desired workout, so there's a lot more wear and tear in your joints because you're breathing through your mouth. And that cooling breath also panics the mind slightly. It panics the brain and sends you into that sympathetic response. And it's really hard to move into your parasympathetic response or your relaxation response when you've activated this emergency energy system of the sympathetic system. Because when it turns on, it's really hard to turn it off. It's such a high-edge energy, and it's designed simply to keep us alive in a life and death situation. So we want to move away from the mouth breathing. We want to create heat in our body, not just through the neuromuscular system movement, but also through proper breathing. Taking the breath deep down into the body and lifting it up on your inhale, and then exhale from the top to the bottom. Your brain responds to the breath before everything else. So there's respiratory glands in your brain that are watching whether the air is coming in long, slow, deep, rich through the nostrils, or is it coming in unsteady through the mouth, or is it coming in rapid through the mouth. And the brain then decides how we're going to show up in the present moment. And if the brain senses any resistance, it's going to cut the parts of the body that have the most blood-rich oxygen cells out of the action. And you're just going to be working on the surface. And when you're working on the surface of the mind, you're only working in the surface of the body. You're never going to get into that energy that you're really looking to get at, whether you're an athlete, whether you're looking to lose weight or change behavior, or whether you're in a yoga practice. So, diaphragmatic breathing, it's a great way to strengthen your respiratory system, take pressure off your heart and lungs, your cardiovascular system, and work all the time in the slowest possible brainwave pattern possible. That high edge energy we're talking about in the brain, that jumpy mind, that's the beta mind. The 20 to 30 pulses per second. This dirga, three-part breathing, this diaphragmatic breathing, invites a slowing of the brainwave patterns, and we move into the alpha waves. And the alpha waves are those waves between 14 to 20 pulses per second where we can relax, we can become curious, we make good choices for ourselves, and we become just expanding on all levels, and there's more joy in what we're doing. There's more of a steadiness. The thoughts that we see come by slower in the mind's eye, but we still might be moving the body quickly. So it all matters how fast the brain is giving us information. My mind works best when I see all my choices and then choose the right action. So the foundation of yoga, breathing through the nostrils, filling the belly first, lifting the breath into the top sleeve of the lungs, and then exhaling slowly. If this is new to you, try to use numbers to make sure you're taking an equal amount in on the inhale and an equal amount out on the exhale. I invite you to do this breath for the rest of your life. It'll definitely allow you to relax more, find more joy in your life. Diaphragmatic breathing. Stick with it. It's a powerful, powerful tool to enhance your life on every level. My name's Eddie Harold. It was great to be with you today. I look forward to seeing you again on this pranayama channel. Have a great day.